I'm a photographer, an editorial photographer, and my career goes for rather longer than I care to think about. But anyway, let's say the last 40 years. And the bulk of my career has been photographing for magazines and books, and more recently, mainly books. I do a little commercial work, but principally what I do is editorial photography. Different kinds, people, which is my preference, but also some architecture and some still life. Editorial photography is what I always wanted to do, documentary, reportage photography. It was my ambition from the start. It's not the easiest career path in photography because the media for showing your work is now more limited than it was. There used to be more magazines. The magazines had bigger budgets and were prepared to send photographers to more places than they are now. So for people starting, it's not so easy. How did it help me? How does it help me take better pictures, choose better pictures? Well, you have to take better pictures in order to be able to select from them. But experience, of course, counts for a lot. The more you do something, provided you're paying attention, generally speaking, the better you get at it. And so I'm fortunate in that I've been able to spend my life basically devoted to photography, which has been great. Well, the books you're talking about, of course, are my books about photography. But one of the ways that I'm able to write those books is that I continue shooting. I mean, I don't just write books about photography. That's, in a way, in English we'd say it's my evening job. Because I still do, I wouldn't say real books, but I do books that are about a particular subject. And these days I try and spend something like 2 years on a major book. The last one I did was on an ancient trade route between China and Tibet called the Tea Horse Road. And indeed this picture here is, and that, which has been chopped, is from that story. And I spent 2 years, not the whole of 2 years, but 20 weeks shooting. And doing that, which is quite intense, means that I acquire the experience that some of which I hope I'm able to pass on in my other books. And before the Tea Horse Road, I did a book nearer to here on Sudan. Again, another 2 years spent on that, which was a fascinating experience. A complicated country. Unfortunately now 2 countries. I shot it when it was one. But basically the answer is, in order to be able to meaningfully write a book about photography or about anything and pass on advice, you have to do it. And you have to continue to do it. So that's always been my principle, that first and foremost, I'm a working editorial photographer. How do I find the event? I find my impression is principally one of great enthusiasm among people here. And as I'd said to someone else earlier, that given that the kingdom actually has quite a small population relative to many other countries, it has a very high proportion of keen photographers, which is wonderful. And just walking around the hall here this evening, and I'm here for the whole week, I get this sense of great enthusiasm. There are lots of stands with small groups of photographers grouped together and showing their work. So there's a lot of energy. It's very good. Of course, it's early days. This is only the 2nd year, and for cultural reasons, photography is relatively new to the kingdom. So we're looking at a future here where photography is going to improve and get better and better. But already I can walk around and among obviously many beginners' pictures, I can also see pictures that I am impressed by and that are beginning to inspire. It's actually my fourth visit. The first two visits were three actually. We're actually to do some commercial work to photograph the hotel. In fact, the hotel I'm staying in, and that was several years ago. But exciting actually, because Saudi Arabia is not a tourist destination, and you can't just suddenly decide, oh, let's pop over. There has to be a reason. You need to be invited. So this makes it actually much more interesting than going to somewhere like Thailand, because it's for me, for a European, it's unknown. The only unfortunate thing is that I still, on my fourth visit, haven't been able to get outside Riyadh or Jeddah. So what I really want to do is take some days off and travel around the kingdom, because having judged this competition, I've been exposed to photographs of amazing places. So my friend Abdallah, who's over there doing another interview, he's promised to take me to the empty quarter, Rub al Khali. Well, of course, I travel for a living, and I do this a lot. I actually think that Saudi Arabia should first be photographed by Saudis. That's the right way to do it. The Saudis should get to know their own country and develop the photographic skills to show it beautifully. You know, I just came back from Burma, Myanmar, where in the spring, we just launched a book there. In the spring, there was a week of photography, an event, a multimedia event, where 30 photographers were invited from all over the world, quite big name photographers from Magnum, National Geographic, to spend 1 week in the country alongside about 6 Burmese photographers, mainly young guys. And so one of the things I'm aware of is that, yes, there's a sense of it's good to see things with a fresh eye, but also I don't like the idea particularly that photography has to be done by foreigners who have perhaps more experience coming in to show their lack of knowledge of a country. This is always very difficult. You go to a new country, and of course I'm trained in photojournalism, so I'm trained to quickly try and work out how things are, but I know I'm ignorant. I don't know anything about Saudi Arabia. When I went to Sudan, I had to work very, very hard to try and understand it and talk to Sudanese. So that's the danger of bringing in the outside eye, that you could be bringing in an outside shallow eye. And Saudis, of course, know their own country. I mean, they may not know it geographically, they may not know all the places, but of course they know the culture. And there's a great value in that.